Alright, today I'm going to talk about how to spot a good and bad property. It's going to go a little bit all over the place, but I want to do it in one video. And this one goes out to Pluckaduck. Thanks for the suggestion. Good idea. It's a little bit similar to the last two of the recent videos I did, how to spot a good client, how to spot a bad client. And so yeah, let's get into it. These are just some of the things that I thought of. They're kind of relevant to the lawns that I have in the area in Brisbane where I am, and things that I noticed there, and things that I take into consideration when viewing a property and working out, do I really want to take this lawn on or not? So I'm just going to start with one particular thing, which is very regional, which is a thing called Mullumbimby couch. And this is a horrible grass. It has really, really thick roots that just spread across. And sometimes you'll turn up to a property and the edges of their lawn, this couch grass has gone all the way over the edges, and it is a nightmare to try to clean up. It destroys the edger. Yeah, really hurts the motor. It goes through heaps of line, and the engine just ends up getting so hot. The line and the whole spool just gets so hot that it just keeps breaking the line, and it's really not fun. So I will do this in the right circumstance, but I definitely take that into consideration and have to charge a very good price for that. So that's one particular thing regional to this area. So one main thing for me is to keep an eye out for stones on the lawn. Now, if there are a lot of stones on the lawn, you're going over that with your mower. It's destroying your blades. There's a real cost to that, and it's an inconvenience, and it has a real cost, of course, new blades, and it also destroys the blades, which means you're not mowing your other lawns as well. So that's a real thing. And one particular thing that I will look out for is along garden edges. So sometimes people have garden beds which are stones, but they don't have a proper border on it. And the garden bed is actually higher, it's raised higher than the lawn. And so what happens is gravity just is taking these stones constantly back down onto the grass, and you have to either collect those stones up and put them back on the garden every time, or you're going over them with your mower and with your edger, which means you could break a window or something like that, or again, you're destroying your blades. So that's definitely something to look out for. That's a bad property. Now this one, of course, dog shit. If you turn up to a place and have a look at a quote and there's dog shit everywhere, that's a no-no. Okay, now there's something else that I just want to say, which is a little bit related to how to spot a bad client, and that is the story. So if you turn up to a property, and in this case I'm going to use dog shit as an example, but maybe it's like kids' toys, which I'll get to in a second, kids' toys, any number of things. Sometimes you'll turn up to a property and you meet with the owner, and they just will launch into the story about why they haven't been able to clean up the dog shit, why they haven't cleaned up the kids' toys, and all of that stuff. You know, and they're talking about, oh, I've got this injury, I hurt my blah, blah, blah. Dude, it's a story, okay? Do you want to be a part of this person's story? You really need to think about that. You really need to, when you turn up to a property, how it's presented and how that person presents themselves is a very, very good indication of how they're always going to present the property and themselves. So you really need to keep that in mind. Okay, if there's dog shit all over the place, why didn't they clean it up? I mean, it's just common courtesy. So if there's dog shit everywhere, when you turn up to do a quote, chances are there's going to be dog shit everywhere every time you turn up to do the lawns. That is a bad property. All right, again, I just said kids' toys, same thing. Are there kids' toys everywhere? Again, if they haven't cleaned up the kids' toys when you come to have a look at it, chances are they're not going to clean up their kids' toys when you come to do the property. Now that's okay. That doesn't necessarily make it a bad property, but you just need to keep that in mind, that you might be cleaning up kids' toys when you turn up to the property, and you need to price that into the equation. Okay, so is the lawn badly overgrown? If it's really, really overgrown, why is it overgrown? Because the thing is, a person who looks after their lawn and cares about the appearance of their property doesn't let it generally get to that state. There's got to be some sort of really extraneous reason for that. And so what is the reason for it being overgrown? Because chances are you're going to turn up, do this horrible overgrown lawn, get it back into condition, and then they're going to keep cancelling on you and tell you, oh no, don't come this week, etc., etc. And every time you turn up, you're going to be doing an overgrown lawn. So you need to be thinking about that. All right, is it just weeds? When you look at their lawn, is it just full of weeds? There's no actual grass. Sometimes it's dusty, there's just stones, dust, dirt, and really no grass. just weeds. That's how to spot a bad property. That's no good. You're not going to ever, that lawn is never going to be enjoyable to do. It is never going to have nice grass unless they do something about it, which maybe they will. Chances are they won't. Okay, this one's important. This one's especially relevant to my situation. So Brisbane's quite actually hilly, and so a lot of times there is really poor access to properties. There can be like a really narrow pathway, or there are a lot of stairs. Sometimes there's just really uneven ground, and it's just like rocks which lead up to the next part of the property, to the next lawn, and you're going to be taking care of that every time. So that's okay. It's not a good property, but I don't necessarily mind doing that, but it's just that needs to be taken into account, that every time you turn up you're going to be dealing with that. And then another thing which is kind of similar to the kids' toys is metal objects on the grass. So I've had this quite a few times, especially when a lawn is overgrown and there are metal objects on the lawn. Okay, I see tent pegs, what else is there? I don't know, just pieces of metal. And that is not only dangerous to you in that it can get thrown out of the mower blades and back into you and could, you know, stab into you or something like that, but it's also, of course, just destroys your mower, destroys your mower blades. It also sounds awful. It could destroy the client's property. And this is something that I'm particularly careful of when I do turn up and see an overgrown lawn, is that what's underneath this lawn that this person hasn't seen for however many weeks or months since it's last been done. So that's definitely something you need to take into consideration. If you see that they have kind of things lying around on their property, like for me, that's just a no, because I don't know what's beneath that grass and I don't really want to find out. So that's how I feel about that. Now, on the other hand, a good property, very easy to spot. Okay, you turn up, the grass is well cared for. They obviously water it properly and look after it properly. Sometimes they might fertilize it, but it looks nice and green if it's in season. The edges are clean. You know, it's easy to tell when someone looks after their lawn. I think it's been mowed recently, it's not overgrown, it's in good condition. And then again, the property itself, they're nice flat lawns. That's ideal. You know, flat lawns are great. That's so much easier to mow on flat lawns compared to hills. And just generally it's really quite obvious that they look after their property. If they have hedges, their hedges are well pruned. And maybe they're just looking, they don't want to take care of their lawn anymore and they're just looking for someone to do it. So that's how to spot a good property. Really not too hard, I don't think. And one thing I will say in this situation is, so sometimes you do turn up, and I like these clients, so sometimes you turn up and they're already they're doing the lawn themselves and they do look after it, or someone else has been looking after their lawn for them. And the edges are done, but they're just not done nicely. But the grass has been mowed, it's clearly been mowed regularly. And I actually really like these properties because it means this person wants their lawn looked after, they want it looking good, but maybe they just don't quite have the skills themselves, and that's why the edges are not done super cleanly. Or perhaps they have a lawn guy already who is just not doing as good a job as I can do. And I like those ones because I know they're going to look after it. So that's how I can tell a good property. So hope that helps. I'd love to hear your comments below, especially you, Pluck a Duck. What did you come up with? And thanks for watching, guys.